Today, we're diving into some things organizations can try to get better, right from the inside. We're going to explore how a group you might not expect, their own internal audit team, can actually be expert advisors helping companies to innovate and improve.
So let's just start with a really basic question. How does any team, whether it's a sports team, a project group at school, or even a huge company, actually improve? Well, it definitely doesn't happen by accident. It's all about looking closely at how things work, finding the weak spots, and getting some smart advice on how to level up.
You know, when you hear the word auditor, what pops into your head? Probably someone who just checks the numbers and makes sure everyone's following the rules, right? That's totally the stereotype. But the reality, more and more, is way more interesting. A modern internal auditor is often a team advisor, a kind of strategic partner who's there to help the whole organization get better.
To really get this shift from, a rule enforcer to an advisor, we've got to talk about something called advisory services. This is where it all happens. It's where auditors move from just checking what happened in the past to actually helping shape a better future.
So here's the official definition. Advisory services are all about giving expert advice to make the company run better. But look at that last part, because it's absolutely crucial, without taking on management responsibilities. They're consultants, not the bosses. They can offer a map, but management still has to steer the ship.
And this advice comes in all shapes and sizes. It can be super formal, like a big plan project. It can be informal, just some helpful tips during a regular meeting. It could be for a huge special project, like two companies merging, or even during an emergency, like figuring out how to recover from a disaster. It's incredibly flexible.
Okay, so this brings us to a really big challenge. How do you give all this expert advice, get really involved in making things better, but not lose your impartiality? How do you help the team without becoming just another player on the field? It all comes down to one word: objectivity.
This right here, this is the golden rule. An auditor's superpower, really, is their independent perspective. The second they start making management decisions, that objectivity just vanishes. It is a line they absolutely cannot cross.
Now check this out. This is how seriously they take that rule. If an auditor helps design a new system, they have to wait at least 1 full year, a cooling-off period, before they're allowed to come back and officially check that same system. It makes sense, right? You can't really grade your own homework. This prevents any conflict of interest.
So, there are some pretty clear safeguards to protect this. Companies will use different auditors for advising versus checking. They'll set up independent supervision. And they always have to disclose any potential conflicts. But the number one ultimate safeguard is simple. Management, and only management, makes the final decision.
And this isn't just random, off-the-cuff advice. Not at all. Formal advisory work follows a very clear 3-step process. First, they plan it out, agreeing on what the goals are. Second, they perform the work. That means gathering all the information they need. And third, they communicate what they found back to management. It's super structured and disciplined.
All right, so how do these advisors actually do their thing? Well, one of the most powerful things an organization can try is something called benchmarking. It's basically a structured way to learn from the absolute best in the business.
To put it simply, benchmarking is all about finding out who is the best in class at something and then holding your own performance up against theirs. It's a total reality check that shows you exactly where you can get better and inspires you to make a change.
And the cool thing is, you can benchmark almost anything you can measure. I mean, look at this table. You could compare how long it takes to get an order to a customer, how many defects your products have, what your customer satisfaction scores are, even financial stuff like sales per employee. These numbers give you the hard data you need to start improving.
And as you can see, this isn't just a quick comparison. It's a really thorough process. It has 5 clear phases. You have to pick the right project, get the right team together, do your homework to find the best performers, analyze the data to see where your gaps are, and then, the most important part, actually implement the changes.
So, besides benchmarking, what other tools do advisors have in their toolkit? Let's look at one called business process mapping. This is all about creating a visual picture of how work actually gets done.
Take a look at this flowchart. It maps out all the steps for handling an invoice. So you receive it, you check for a PO number, you see if the order is complete, and on and on. By drawing it out like this, you can immediately see every single step, every decision, every time the work gets handed off to someone else. It makes it so much easier to spot where things are getting stuck or taking too long.
But the real goal here isn't just to draw a diagram. It's to focus on the outcome, not just the busy work.
It forces you to ask a really simple question for every step in that process. Does this actually add value? And if the answer is no, then the goal is to figure out how to simplify it, automate it, or just get rid of it completely.
Okay, so we've looked at the role of the advisor, the rules they have to follow, and a couple of their tools. Let's zoom out for a second and talk about the big picture here. Why does all of this advisory stuff matter so much? Here is probably the most important thing to remember. While traditional auditing is usually about looking backward at what already happened, advisory services are all about looking forward. They give leaders the insights they need to get ready for the challenges of tomorrow.
You know, I think this quote just sums it up perfectly. The value they add isn't just about advice. It's about insight, which is understanding what's happening right now, and foresight, which is anticipating what's going to happen next. When you get that from a source that's independent and objective, well, that's an incredibly powerful tool for any organization.
So to wrap this all up, let's make it a little more personal. These ideas of benchmarking and improving processes, they don't just apply to giant companies. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. What's one thing in your own life that you could start to measure so that you could improve it? Thanks for watching.